Right, so just there you go. How are you boys doing? Let me show you a bit of bro science going on here. See that here? I've got pillow in between of my lap and my MacBook. So you might be asking, why would you put a pillow in between of your lap and MacBook? Bro science. I just don't want any electromagnetic waves radiating onto my balls. Okay, onto this video. I'm going to start with a story of mine. So, most of my life, well, back in grade school, middle school and high school, I've always studied in this Christian institution. So yeah, I've always been raised as a Christian. And in every stage of our education, which is grade school, middle school and high school, we've always had one Bible camp. So my first Bible camp was in 5th grade, second one's in 8th, and our last one was in the 11th. In this Bible camp, we basically went away from the city, moved to the suburbs for 3 days, 2 nights, into this part orphanage, part villa for visitors. Yeah, there's such a thing. Honestly, in all 3 instances, it was all... I honestly had a really good time. Like, imagine this, getting away from technology and all of those, and just getting ourselves closer to our creator, God Almighty. Yeah, it was merry. To be fair, everything was just an experience after another. We messed around quite a lot. After we chose rooms of where we wanted to sleep and all of that, we snuck out at night and just and just played unintentional cops and robbers with our teachers. I remember one night I snuck out with one of my friends. We basically made a promise to the girls that we would visit them at night. I have to clarify, we didn't plan on doing anything stupid and unchristian like. We just planned on hanging out, playing cards and all of that, and just talk around, gossip, what have you. I remember we got caught by a few of our teachers who were on night patrol. One of them is actually our PE teacher. He was this strong, stocky guy, just 5'6" though. And yeah, to be fair, it would be so lucky for us to be above 5'10", 5'11", or even 6. Basically, 6 foot is a delicacy, so we're Asians, can't do anything much about it. And he basically passive aggressively insinuated to us that he was ready to beat the ever living shit out of us. Word for word, I'll try to translate it. He roughly said, "Boys, I almost swung these rockets onto you. What are you even doing? Should be inside your dorms and just sleeping at this hour." And it was so funny, bro. I remember we were just sneaking around, hiding behind bushes, and just hoping that we wouldn't get even caught. And once we got caught, we just walked past them, tried to play it all off. But to be fair, we were insolent little brats, and as cringy as it sounds, I lived most of my life as an atheist. Yeah, as cringe as it sounds, right? Because you know, atheism is not real. Prove me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, and there's no such thing as atheism. Okay, I digress. That's a topic for another day. You might be asking, what's the significance of this story I'm telling you, right? So earlier in that morning was probably one of the funniest things I've heard all year. What happened was the same friend who I snuck with at that night, we're just getting our stuff sorted in our own rooms, and basically waved his hand calling over me from far away, which at that time I thought he was holding this bottle of lotion. So basically, let's say this is a bottle of lotion. He held this and just called me over. "Hey Nelson, come over here." And I'm from afar, I'm just ecstatic. I didn't even know how to react to that. Like, Jesus, bro, did you just get an epiphany that you should use lotion when you waddle with your worm or something? And okay, by the way, stop waddling with your worm. Stop watching corn. It's disgusting. Another topic for another day. So, came over to him. I stepped down the stairs, walked over him, and he was just so ecstatic, so engulfed in looking at this bottle. So I came over to him and basically said, "What's up?" I swear down, he asked me this question. "You know, Nelson, do you know how do you read this?" I read it. "Body wash." "What's wrong with that?" "It's body wash." "Yeah. What is that?" And bro, I was just dying of laughter. He was, what, 18, 19 years old at that time? And he didn't even know what a body wash is. Good God. Look, what made this story so concerning is, well, the institution that we studied in are private institutions. They basically have so much funding in teaching all of us with better education in terms of any types of subject that we actually study. They basically have enough funding to teach us better English than any other government-owned institutions, right? But in hindsight, after I think about it, yeah, unfortunately, there's just that it's not uncommon to see people, especially around our age, are struggling with English. Here's another story. Our family has this gardener. He has worked for us. Excuse me. He has worked for us for as long as I can remember. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've known him for 21 years now, which is basically my whole life. One day, my gardener brought this pamphlet, a brochure of some sort, of some private English courses. He basically brought it over to me. He made this, let's just say, oblivious remark. He basically said, who would pay around ₹1,000,000 for some food? ₹1,000,000 in Indonesia is maybe around, I don't know, 50, 60 something dollars for food. For Indonesian standards, it's just beyond expensive, stupidly expensive. What the hell? Really? Is there really some food that's that expensive here? Took the brochure and lo and behold, it's actually a private English course. So, surprise. But okay, that was a little bit unfair for me to judge like that, because he was from an incredibly rural part of the country. In fact, if I remembered correctly, his last highest education was grade school. But he's 50 years old, so he was generations and generations behind us. And to his credit though, my family always called him MacGyver because he's the very definition of street smarts. He's like 100% street smart. So you might be wondering why I am telling you these two stories, right? Well, here's the thing. Our country's been developing this new capital city. Yeah, we're planning to move our capital city from Jakarta to a basically secluded area in Kalimantan, and we're going to call that city Nusantara, which is so cool. Really proud of my country. But then it got me thinking. You know what? Let's go over to my screen. I wanted to show you something. Here's the data from 2010 to 2021. It shows the literacy rate in Indonesia. And as you can tell, from 2010 to 2021, our literacy rate has grown by 0.64%. Basically, have reached a literacy rate of 99.76%. So pats on the back, that's really damn good, isn't it? In other news, this unfortunately is actually data for bare minimum literacy. I'm going to show you another data. Are you kidding? It's now locked. Okay, let me just pull up another data. Okay, here's something. Education completion rate in Indonesia in 2021 by education at urbanization level. Completed any stage of the education? So as you can tell, yeah, it's not too good, isn't it? Look, in urban areas such as where I live, I'm a big city kind of guy. I live in Surabaya, which is basic. You can kind of say it's the second biggest metropolitan city in the country. But the completion rate in rural areas for senior high school, which is basically 10th to 12th grade, is only 50%. Only 50% of all the population, well, in rural areas, that is. Now, that is high school. What about higher education? These 50% of people might not all go to college or university for that matter, because everyone is mandated to finish high school, but even some of them haven't finished, which is depressing, isn't it? Here's another data. This data right here basically tells us about Indonesia's English proficiency. Okay, before I continue, I have to say this. This data was provided by EF, English First. Screw them. Cal till the day I die. All of you Indonesians would know what I mean. For the sake of argument, I'm going to use this data. Look at that. Position in Asia, 15 out of 24. Yada yada yada. Global average score. Now, get this. These right here are basically levels of proficiency for the people around here, and lo and behold, there you go. Isn't that disgusting? Basically, this data implies we're moderate at best in English proficiency, and you basically can only find them in metropolitan cities. Other than that, tough luck. One thing though, where is Bali? Supposedly Bali is like predominantly dominated by tourists, so we're supposed to be able to speak English better there, but you know what? Even so, this data looks saddening. So let's get back to the topic at hand. So this video, I'm basically just trying to convince all Indonesians to really learn English. In fact, I would go as far as to say we should make English as our second language. Not our dialects like Japanese, Balinese, or whatever is it that you have, but English. So Indonesian as our first language and English. Other than that, that's our third language. Especially for insolent little brats like I was. Because you definitely need to find something that is way worth it in doing. Something that is worth not getting drunk and screwing up, basically. Yeah, I know those are fun. It's time to step it up. And in some sense, I'm also trying to remind everyone that we have to put education in the forefront of our priorities. So basically, stop being stupid, stop neglecting studies, and come on, study, you lazy mutt. But I guess this video is going to cater more into us Indonesians, to be fair. So let me put it this way, especially in the case of capital city relocation, Indonesia is going to play a major part in the international relations landscape. The capital city itself is planned to be fully operational by 2045, which is exactly 100 years after our Independence Day, which is very smart of them. And trust me, time will pass by so quick that you won't even notice that we're there. In fact, take a look at this, right? I've been keeping an eye out for the development of this new capital city of ours. I'll show you an article. This sentence over here. So basically our president's vowed that he's going to only use 20% of the total project cost, $32 billion, going to be government funded. What is going to happen for the 80%? So that's where we come in. And you know what that means?
Get some help.
But why specifically English though? Well, it's been years since I've actually went through the educational system. Based on my own perspective, all of these are just from anecdotes. But then again, I've talked about this with my friends and yeah, they've actually taken the same stance as I do. I really hope that we've improved our educational system, but me personally, I'll confess with a heavy heart that I doubt so. So basically, all of it is just left to us. We have to conduct our own studies for the most part. But you might be asking, why English though, Nelson? We're Indonesians. Well, I don't know. But maybe there's a plethora of reasons on why you should learn in English. You know what? Here's a few. Did you know that English is actually the primary language for international relations? Whether it be communication, science, technology, and academia, a vast majority of researches are basically done in English, and that's one reason. And that also means that English also serves as a bridge, especially for international business, diplomacy, or maybe collaborations. And hell, if you're into literature, a significant portion of the world's literature are done in English. Both classic and contemporary works, all of them are written in English. And in the coming years of developing our own country, we're definitely going to need educated men, women, or anyone in between. Basically pull in both domestic and international investors. And boy, it sure as hell starts with education. Now, granted, I'm not the best representative to say that just now. Hell, I'm barely literate as is. I'm actually kind of believe that I have the verbal lexicon of Caesars from Planet of the Apes.
Right, wife. Life good.
But what I'm trying to say is, for anyone who is listening and able to comprehend what I'm saying, I just hope that all of you actually share my sentiment. So maybe think of this as a reminder for anyone who actually doesn't put education in the forefront of their priorities, but especially Indonesians. This is basically a wake-up call. I want you to look at this video as a reminder that, oh yeah, the world is changing, and if I don't change with it, we're screwed. So I guess I'm going to leave you off with a few tips that I can think of. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. How do we actually get better? Well, we have to start with the foundations, people. I want everyone to basically start reading more. And that's actually very hard to do. Because unfortunately, from what I know, Indonesians don't actually have a big reading culture. So yeah, it's going against our own method of education, I would say. Going to make an argument for reading, right? Why read books? That is a good question. And unfortunately, I don't have any concrete factual evidence to support my findings. But what I love about books is you get less distracted and you actually get more immersed when you actually read a book. And you know what? Contrary to popular belief, fictions are actually really good to read in terms of trying to learn human nature and all of that. Why don't you go and try and read Game of Thrones or maybe even Lord of the Rings? If you try to study a certain character's development and also their dynamics with other characters, you can learn a thing or two about human nature. And guess what? You're reading it from fiction. It's definitely going to stick with you longer. Me myself, quite frankly, I haven't read any fiction books as of lately. The last book I remember reading was from a Japanese writer who offed himself, and it was quite a depressing and sad book. I recommend it though. Okay, let me just take a look what it was. It was a book by Osamu Dazai, The Setting Sun. Yeah, that book. It was quite depressing. I don't recommend you reading that if you have any suicidal tendencies. But I'm also planning on reading Crime and Punishment though, a book by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Yeah, look out for my upcoming YouTube videos. I'm probably going to talk about that book after reading it twice. Here's a pro tip actually. I found that jumping between reading two books at the same time is actually really helpful. At the minute I'm reading this book, but also this book. Both of them are really solid books and I recommend these books. But basically, once I've started to, let's say, lose traction when I try to read a book, basically just close that book, hop onto another one. Once I get back to my prior book, I'm just, reinvigorated to read that book again. So that's exciting. And to end it all off, there's no better way than ending this video in Indonesian, so I'm going to talk in Indonesian now. Don't really have any script for this, but alangkah baiknya kalau misalnya kita semua mulai melihat masa depan kita. Dan jujur aja, menurut saya, puncak pendidikan itu ada dalam bahasa Inggris. Jadi mau gak mau ya, selain mulai belajar bahasa Inggris, alangkah baiknya kalau misalnya kita juga belajar apapun dalam bahasa Inggris. Soalnya studi-studi di luar sana yang benar-benar mendidik itu dalam bahasa Inggris. That's basically my whole argument for all of this. And this is probably going to be the last time you're going to see me in this room. Not that I'm actually going to miss this, right? Here's an extra story. First week of actually staying over here, someone has actually stolen my laundry bag and my brand spanking new detergent. Okay, here's what happened. I was sitting on the sofa in our laundry area and I put aside, right beside the sofa, my laundry bag. When it comes to the time for me to actually move my laundry to the dryer, I basically got up from the sofa, walked to the laundry, quickly shoved it into the tumble dryer. I'm telling you, it wasn't even long, probably just in a minute or two. When I turned back, it's gone. I remember there was around quite a few people there, and I can't exactly remember who went out of the room at that time, but Jesus Christ, not even Tom Cruise can even pull that off. Guess to end it all off, I'm going to show you what my room looks like at a minute. Look at that. That's my bed. I've made my bed. You know how it is. Oh, clean up your own room. That's a Jordan Peterson impression. Yup. I haven't even packed all of my stuff and I'm basically going home in, 5 days? I'm pretty sure I can finish it all off in, in a day. So, yeah, bye.